Hello there, welcome to a new yearly tradition here on the channel where I show you all the minis I painted last year. Since I have a lot of footage to edit, this is gonna serve as a sort of teaser for the rest of the year. Anyways, I hope you like it, and let's start with the first things I painted. So I started the year with this Wood Elf theme for Blood Bowl, which I'm really proud about. This was a good opportunity to work on very vibrant colors and skin as well, because having a Seraphon army, I don't get to paint skin that often. So that was a good opportunity to do that. I also tried out some NMM on it and a lot of freehand. This project started with me wanting to try Squidmar's technique with contrast, where he uses two colors, a normal one, lighter one, and a shadow that he shoots underneath over his zenithal. And I wanted to do that with the green, and I thought it looked really good. I tried it out at a local gaming shop where you could try out the new contrast paints, and I did that, and then also added some highlight by using a third contrast paint, which was the scorpion green one. And yeah, all of these new contrast paints are super vibrant, and I really liked that result and thought to myself, I need to do that for an entire unit. It was on the Nork, I'll probably put up pictures of it somewhere. And yeah, I'm really liking this result. I wanted to paint this unit to a high level, and I feel like I achieved that. Let's get some more beauty shots. I really like this guy, I like his face. The pose is super dynamic and elegant. He's like beating you in style with style, you know. Yeah, really happy with the character I managed to give the face. This was an attempt at doing some makeup on the cheeks. It might be a bit too pronounced, but still looks good, I feel. And this one is my favorite. It was a great opportunity to practice skin, and I spent quite a lot of time on it to get it right. And I'm really happy with the light placement, how striking it is, and all the contrast that there is on it. I took this one separately to a French Open competition and won gold with it at the intermediate level, and I was really proud of that. So yeah, good start of the year. Next up is this warcry warband, the chameleon skinks. I'm really happy with this one as well. I also filmed the process of painting these elves, so expect a video on them sometime soon. Next up is this chameleon skink warband for warcry, which I'm really happy with as well. This was a good opportunity to experiment new stuff for my Seraphon schemes, which I felt was getting too samey, and I wanted the variety. When I paint armies, I like to change up the recipe almost every time, every unit I paint. I try to vary a tiny bit, and this one was a lot of change compared to my usual recipe. It was a good way to try out some new metal recipes and how to make the scales as well. I wanted to do some very vibrant purple scales, so I tried new stuff with that using inks and whatnot. This warband was also where I discovered that this new contrast paint, Adari Emerald, is super nice and a good replacement for my usual jade recipe, and you're gonna see later on that I use this quite a bit. So yeah, the new stuff I did, not only I tried out new stuff for the base, but also the overall painting was done with a lot of contrast paints, followed by highlighting with opaque layers of paint, and that brought me a lot of good result very fast. So I felt that this was the new start of a good way to paint my Seraphon from now on. The gold as well, I tried a new recipe where I put one layer of contrast on all the gold bits, followed by highlights with actual metallic paint, but only on the light facing surfaces. And I feel like it still works, it still reads that as metal, and is like half the time because you remove a few layers, and this was really good. So yeah, this got me rethinking the way I would paint the rest of the army. Next up, and continuing the Seraphon painting this year, I wanted to do a new custom hero for my army, mostly for a narrative event that was happening in France at the time. I wanted to do a custom hero for it, and so I took a lot of bits I had, mostly from the Carnosaur kit, and kit bashed a guy out of it. The Carno kit has a lot of bits in it because you can do one on the Carno and one on foot. So I reused a lot of arms and legs from it, and head as well. But I needed a back, so I used the tail of the Carnosaur to make another back. I had to green stuff quite a lot of things. As you can see as well, I had to do some surgery on the hand to make it pointing. And I'm really happy with the way that looks. I reused the throne bits as well, throne bits on the Carnosaur to make a nice rune thingy on the back of the base as well. It was my first time using a lot of epic basing plants as well, and I think that they look really, really good. And here's the painted miniature. This was a continuation of me trying out new stuff for the rest of the Seraphon, because at that time they had shown the new stuff, which I was really, really excited for, and I was trying to come up with ways to paint them. So I kept using that recipe I tried out on the Skink right here on this hero, which I'm happy to say it worked. Apart from using contrast on the scales of the body, I also found a new way to paint the bases in a very Craftworld Studio inspired way. That is, I started with the zenithal and then used a lot of inks of various colors to get some initial colors going, and then after that I just did a lot of highlighting with opaque layers, but trying to keep my very colorful shadows intact. And that's what you can see on the plant at the bottom. A lot of contrast and inks on the plant before I added the highlights. You can see it here, that there's a lot of green left in the stone as well, which is thanks to that initial colorful layers I did. I tried out some very ancient metals as well, recipe, which I feel like worked quite well. You can see the stone has a lot of colors as well. It's not only my initial layer, it's also a lot of stippling. Anyways, I filmed the whole thing as well, so you can expect a video on this one sometime this year. Next up was a very fun little project that I did for my gaming group. We're trying to have a Blood Bowl team for the club where everyone painted a different model, and this was one of mine. This was a fun experiment in trying to paint with only Chimera paints. If you don't know them, they're single pigment colors, so I had to mix all of the colors that are present on the mini here, including the skin tone. It was a very fun experiment that I really recommend you do if you want to improve. The company has a YouTube channel where they talk about some color and theory stuff, and it was really helpful in doing this project. I tried to have a lot of very impactful and harsh light going to make it more dynamic and vibrant, and I'm really happy with the result. I really like the way the silver NMM looks here. It's probably some of my best silver. And yeah, I'm really happy with the result on this. As you can see, there's almost no blending on this mini. This year was the year where I kind of sort of tried to ditch blending as a concept and go for contrast and vibrancy straight away. And I feel this worked really well here. Next up, I painted the Terror Wings to complete my warband for warcry. This was a continuation of the recipe I was trying out, as in lots of contrast over my pre-shade with then a lot of highlights from opaque layers. You can see that I tried out my stone recipe that I used on the custom hero here on the smaller version, and I think it works quite well. I don't have a lot of blue yet in this army. There's like purple, red, green, and I wanted some blue as well, but I didn't know which color to pair it with, so I used some purple and some yellow. I'm not too fan of the yellow, so I didn't reuse it that much later on, but anyways, they still look cute. Using the contrast, this contrast method was a bit harder on the wings, so I had to use a lot of opaque paints to add some texture and hide the coffee stains. Next up is probably one of the highlights of the year for me. It was painting Morathi. I painted her up for a friend. We have a sort of agreement going because he likes building models, so I give him some of my models to build, and as payment he gives me some of his models to paint. And I really wanted to paint Morathi at some point, so we made the deal. This was a fantastic project in a lot of ways. It was quite daunting, but also a lot of fun. Initially, I wanted to do it quick and fun and simple by using a lot of airbrushing, but turns out that this model is not very easy to airbrush because there is a lot of things that are hiding each other, like the wings on the side are covering the arms and whatnot, and it's also coiled around the huge column. So I could only do a very tiny bit of sketching using transparent colors as over my zenithal, but afterwards I had to do all of it by brush basically, which was quite daunting at first. I admit I was kind of lost initially. I was like, how am I gonna do this? This is gonna be huge. And so I managed to overcome this sort of mental block by just tackling the figure bit by bit, and it kind of worked. And that was a huge mental improvement for me and a big step up this year, because I figured like, okay, I've managed to paint Morathi, I can paint everything I want now, you know? It was just like the big level, mental level of the unlocking of the painter's brain. I don't know. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way I painted the face. It's very Disney-like, like very clean. The NMM, the gold isn't my best, but I'm really happy with the silver. I think it looks really good here on the crown and the tip of the spear. It's a very imposing figure and it's hard to photograph. You can see I added some black spots on the wings to make it more lively. I tried to follow Squidmar's video on painting freehand that he has. It's an older one where he does few initial layers of ink and then more white marks before adding other layers of ink as well. It looks very deep and layered and stuff, and I wanted to do something similar on the wings. It's somewhat worked. Here's the back. There's a massive line over it because apparently my friend told me it's quite hard to build. Anyway, since then I've based the mini and I took it to a local competition where I got bronze with it because it's not finished. I didn't like clean up everything. But still, I'm really happy with what I got for the amount of time I spent on it, because I spent almost all my time on the face, the front, like the NMM, and a bit on the wing, but the rest is very, very simple. So I could see why I didn't get more. Anyway, still proud of it. Next up is the second highlight of the year for me. This was a very fun project that I did for my gaming group. We had a small competition going where everyone had to paint this Stormcast that you get from the initiation models from Games Workshop. You were allowed conversions and so on, but I wanted to try out painting it straight on without changing anything, but just to a very high level, and this was a lot of fun. It was a big step up in terms of painting NMM. It's not that credible. I think there's some work to be done still, but I learned a lot. I didn't film this one, but I kind of pretty much followed Richard Gray's Stormcast tutorial, so just go and see his. It's gonna be way better than anything I could do regardless. But yeah, I spent a lot of time on painting this one, probably more than 30 hours, which for me and for minis that size is quite a lot of time. I usually try to get around 10 hours per model for hero or single figures. I really like the blue I got here on the shoulders. It's such a vibrant blue. I love it. I think it's a chimera paint as well. So I tried to get some reflection from the ground. Yeah, super proud of this. It was one of the first minis I taken really seriously for a while, and I intend to do the same this year. I want to try out the same idea for the Space Marine that you can get for free as well. Take it very seriously and to the highest level I can. I'll keep you posted on that one. Next up, the highlight of the end of the year, the Seraphon. It took me a month to paint the entire army box that you got in May or June, I don't remember. But yeah, I got another box of the warriors, some agrodons and Croxigor as well to get like... I think I bought almost all the new kits because I was really excited. I've been waiting on these guys for so long. I got the derpy ones that you get in the start collecting box, and they needed an upgrade. They really did. So yeah, it was the moment of truth, the time to test out the recipes I've been working on at the start of the year. I wanted to spend time on them to make them look good because obviously I love them, but not too much because I still got 20 of them to paint. So I tried to have a compromise of spending 1 hour per model, which would make this project a 20-hour project, and I'm happy to say I succeeded. And this was mostly due to the new recipe, that is a use of a lot of contrast over a pre-shade. Here I did the white skin with Radhalcans, a blue one and followed by a light grey one, and then lots of contrast over all the scales and the metallic as well, and the base. And then I did a quick highlight over everything, and I'm really happy with the result. I did my highlights mostly around the face and the shoulders, which saved me a lot of time. I really love the ways these guys look. I'm really happy with this new purple recipe I got as well. It's very vibrant. You got a lot of saturation in the shadows and then desaturated highlights. And I don't know why, but I really like it. I built 2 banners and had one in jade and the other one purple. I also built the 2 weapon option. I had 10 Saurus with the spears and 10 with the clubs. I love these so much. They look so dynamic. Really love the pose. They were such a fun project to do. And I can't wait for you to see the video I made. Here's the purple banner and the leader. Look at that purple. I love it so much. And the jade and the green. Oh, I love them so much. Sorry, I'm gushing. The metals were very simple as well. Just contrast and then some sort of overbrushing of the gold. No highlights needed. Anyways, next, let's leave the Seraphon a bit to show you this adorable little pug that I painted for a friend's birthday. This is from Grebo Games. They have a Cutimals lines, which is kind of a replacement of all the Blood Bowl teams, but cute animals version. And not all of them are resin. Some of the old one are still metal, but this is some of the new stuff. I have to say it's very fun to paint. This one is not too detailed and really characterful, so it was a lot of fun painting it. As you can see again, I ditched the blending, went from striking contrast and colors. As you can see, I took another opportunity to practice a bit of NMM. It was a very quick paint job, this one, but it was a lot of fun. This is such a characterful miniature. And after that, it's back to the Seraphon, and notably the Raptadons. I have to be honest, these aren't the most exciting sculpts for me. I'm more of a big Saurus chunky boys kind of guy. So Saurus warriors, the Agrodons, the Croxigor. I still love the new Slan and the new Starseer, and don't get me wrong, they look gorgeous. But I don't know, these chicken riders didn't excite me that much. So these were a somewhat special project in the way that I didn't know how to paint them color-wise. I struggled with the color scheme for quite a long time. I knew I wanted different colors from the chargers and the hunters. I kept trying stuff out on GIMP and not being satisfied. So at some point I just decided to release the pressure and tell myself, just paint them. Just paint them simple, quick. Don't worry about the rest or having the perfect color scheme. Just paint them. So I picked what I thought was alright at the time, even if not perfect, and just went along with it. So once again, it's a lot of contrast paint and then opaque paints as highlights. And I feel it still works really well for this. I painted them very quickly, but I'm still happy with the result I got, especially for models that I'm not that fond of. Here you can see the application of the contrast is fairly splotchy. It's not the best, but as I said, I don't really care. The highlights were very quickly done. The metal work is very simple as well. Still the same recipe as I did the Saurus. I probably still spent 1 hour per model on these guys. I tried to make them simple and colorful, and that way they would be impactful on the table without taking me a lot of time to paint. Yeah, you can still see the jade color I mentioned earlier. I really loved that one, and the blue for the Raptadons. I used the yellow again. I'm still not sure about it, to be honest. Tried having also some colors on the shield, and I like it. Little break from the Seraphon to paint Shatterpoint. I got the good guys half of the coral set, which I split with a friend, and I gotta say these were lovely to paint. They were a lot of fun. They are a bigger scale than Games Workshop minis. They're not the heroic scale that have like big head and huge hands as well. It's more realistic, but there is not a lot of detail compared to Games Workshop models, which these days is quite complex. Looking at you, Slaves to Darkness. Anyway, this was a fun break from all the Warhammer stuff. As I said, they're very simple to paint, and so I could focus on all the bits that are funny and easy to paint, mostly the armor and the blue. I spent a lot of time on doing some weathering and having some strong light going, and I'm really happy with that blue again. It's really good, and the armor was quite a lot of fun. I tried to follow Andy Wardle's tutorial that he has on his Patreon, where he paints his Banshee for his Elder Army, and so I tried to apply that here, and I'm quite satisfied with the result. Once again, I tried to go for a nice balance of time versus quality. I'm also happy with the bases. They were quite fun and liberating. There's a lot of texturing done for the metal. I also painted the Mandalorians. This was also a very fun project. I wanted to try out some NMM, but very used one, like not shiny one, polished one. And also I wanted to do the jetpacks because I'd never really done such an effect. So I had to look up quite a few tutorials on it. There's one by Jose Da Vinci, which is good and quite detailed, but maybe too much detail because it's like half hour or something, so I had to cut it down a bit. But I'm really happy with the result. It was like some Zenithal for the gray with the airbrush initially, and then using white for the flames, followed by some ink glazing to make it pop. And as you can see, there is some black dry brushing at the bottom of the smoke to make it look like burnt and whatnot. Yeah, I'm happy with the way they look. I found a nice way to paint these because I wanted to do it efficiently, and I use the airbrush for that because it's really good at being efficient. So all of the minis I painted for Shatterpoint, I started with the Zenithal. Here for the Mandalorians, it was the black suits because I didn't want to bother with painting those. So I did them with the Zenithal with the airbrush, and then the rest was done by brush. Another angle here. I used some fluo on the LEDs, you can see. Very simple paint job. Happy with the OSL look on the flames. I don't know how Bo-Katan is not burning her ass here, but yeah, she still looks really cool. Next up is the heroes. Here's Anakin. He was a fun project, but a very challenging one because as you can see, he's mostly brown. So I had to find ways to make all of them look different so he didn't look like a single blob of brown. So I looked up quite a few images of him online, and I could see that his main torso tunic is somewhat reddish, so I amped that up quite a bit. And his sort of tabard dark leather looking thing, I don't know the name of it, is more shiny and also darker, so I could play up that as well. And also the boots, the gloves, and the pants were different colors. Lots of different browns on this. But yeah, I had a lot of fun trying to render different finish on him. As in, the red tunic is mostly matte, and the big tabard thing is mostly shiny leather. So I had to work on that. You can see I pushed the highlight quite a bit to make it look shinier and desaturated it as well. Also, fun bit is using the OSL to get that, because since it's shiny, the leather is gonna reflect the light a lot more than the tunic itself. And you can see that here. The face was another fun challenge because the angle it has right now, given the light that I chose, the direction of the light that I chose, is a bit challenging because there is a lot of it in shadow. So it made for a more striking face. Here's his butt on the side. Next up is my favorite mini of the bunch. It's Ahsoka. Not just because of the character Ahsoka is great, but just this mini, I really like the pose. It's super dynamic, very ninja-like, but also most importantly, it has a very well-defined golden angle that you can photograph. So it makes choosing the light very easy here and quite impactful. You can see I chose the light coming from the front, and that made highlighting that segment of the face look really nice on it and look very dynamic and striking. And that's why I love this model. Here's another angle. You can see the dynamism in the face, a very shadowed side and a very light one, which looks really good in my opinion. I tried to have some NMM going on the armor. Once again, these days I take every opportunity I have to try it out. It's good practice. Here's the backside. Not much interesting stuff going on because the front side is the main event. Here on the side, I'm really happy with the way I did the gold here, the way it catches the light. Really happy with that. Next up, let's go back to the Seraphon and some of the minis I've been wanting to paint for quite a while. Yeah, these guys look great. I really love those minis. They look like menacing and impactful, like they're gonna tear you apart. They are straight out of Jurassic Park. Once again, I've followed my usual recipes that I had been developing lately that I used on the warrior. So lots of contrast over the pre-shade followed by opaque colors. I took a bit more time on this one than I did for the Saurus because there's few of them, only 6 models this time. But yeah, I really love these guys. Look at them, they're all so goddamn sexy and menacing. I really like that red and that purple as well. It looks so good. Very striking. Once again, almost no highlights on the gold. Very simple affair. You can see here I tried to go for striking highlights and the striking light, as you can see here on the head of the Ageofsigmar. I feel like that plays a lot in the way that these look. On the other side, I love this look of the jade here. The highlight contrasted with the shadows. Yeah, I love this pose. Love the basing as well. This is a bit more elaborate than the Saurus Warriors, of course, because I had a lot more space to do it. Anyways, I can't wait for you guys to see this video. Next up, and the last thing I painted this year were the crop seagull. These guys are so chunky. They're huge. They're almost twice as big as the Saurus warriors, and I love them so much. They look so good. I'm so happy I didn't buy the old ones, which are really derpy and terrible. These are good chunky boys. I love them so much. I didn't use all the frogs on the bases because I wanted to keep some for other heroes. But yeah, still same recipes. Pre-shade of blue and white for the white skin, followed by contrast paint, followed by highlights of opaque layers. Yeah, it's the same process, and I need to find a way to make all the videos interesting because it's the same idea. Maybe if you think one single video where I show you all of them is better, then tell me in the comments, I guess. I also tried something out for the stones here. Don't know if you see it, but I put a green wash on them over a lot of stapling. I feel like it gives them so much light. Yeah, don't paint your stone just gray, guys. Give it some light. More photos of these guys. I had a lot of issues taking pictures of these guys, and I feel like they don't do them justice. I'm never quite managing to get the good contrast that exists in real life on the white skin and the scales, because I up the jade contrast quite a bit, and more than this picture tells you. This guy is probably one of my favorite of the bunch. It looks so menacing, such an open pose as well. This guy is a classic pose that you had to build, of course. And you can see I went again for a very striking light, as you can see on the knee here, the leg here, and the face as well. Striking lights are the name of the game for me this year. And that's it. That's all of them. All the minis I painted this year. A lot of them are gonna be videos, and you can expect the next one to be the chameleon. Anyway, I hope you liked this format and that it wasn't too boring. If you liked it, please give it a like. Please consider subscribing if you want to see all those things I painted and made into tutorials. But in the meantime, I'll be seeing you in the next video. And until then, I hope you stay adventurous and that you keep painting, because painting is cool.